Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap here on February the 23rd, 2016. Which, if you're not watching this live, you may look at your calendar and be like, wait a minute, but that's Tuesday! What are you guys doing an episode on Tuesday? Well,
What
scheduling.
sorcery is this? You lied to us! You said
This-
it'd be Wednesday!
This asshole here has got to travel tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, we're doing the show a day early. Lucky you.
I mean, it was this, or I was like, Nick, go fuck yourself. That's it. It was those two choices. It was like, we could do it a day early, or tell everyone to go fuck themselves. I'll turn on the stream Wednesday evening just to say, go fuck yourself, stream off. Boom.
It would just be like this giant middle finger that's also, and the middle finger also has a dick that it's swinging around.
Wow. It's so elaborate now. I put a lot of work into this go fuck yourself, everyone else.
Go fuck yourself. I feel like being lazy, which is why I went to great lengths to make this go fuck yourself message.
I missed my plane to go make this GIF just to tell all of you to go fuck yourselves. Anyway, I'm still here now because I missed my plane. I guess we could do a podcast. I did find out some interesting news today, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I found out that Rugrats apparently is coming back. Nickelodeon has greenlit it to I don't know if it's essentially reboot, but start making new episodes of Rugrats in 2017.
Whatever. Those kids were, one for 10 years anyway.
Well, see the thing, like we share a lot of similarities, like in a lot of stuff we grew up with, but you didn't grow up with Nickelodeon.
No, and I hate Rugrats.
Yeah. Nickelodeon, and specifically Rugrats, was essentially my childhood. Like, probably from like the ages of 5 to like 9, I watched Rugrats all the goddamn time. And I immediately was like, I don't care about this news. I can't. I've reached 27 years of my life saying, all right, probably not going to see another new episode of Rugrats in my life, and I think I'm okay with that. I don't think I really want a new one. And I was starting to think about it a little bit more, and I was like, it's not even. Maybe we just don't need to do another one. I mean, it's not even like the full cast is there. I mean, Grandpa, the voice actor for Grandpa, died earlier this year, and I think that might not be the only person who's dead. And I looked it up. I was like, oh my god, the original voice actress for Chuckie died too.
Yeah.
And I just sat there for a moment. I was like, oh my god, Chuckie is dead. And my world got so much sadder.
I will remember you.
There's something so weird. I'm like, oh, the dorky baby in Rugrats is dead. Why do I bother going on? What's the point?
The most Jewish character ever is dead.
What's the point anymore? It's so harsh.
All of his paranoia was true. Yeah. He was right to be so afraid of everything.
Yeah, and people will be like, well, no, there's technically two Chuckies, because then, eventually the voice actress for Bart now does, well, I guess now, but did the voice of Chuckie for like 6 years in like the 2000s. But I'm like, no, I just, the fact that the original Chuckie, the voice actress, and I know she was probably like, I believe it was like cancer or something like that took her, but even then, I was like,
She died pretty young.
Yeah. But I still have to recognize, like, yeah, it's not an actual baby that died,
Right.
It was a woman who was doing the voice of a child and then passed. But I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I just feel like some small piece of innocence in my mind has forever died, and I'm truly not able to comprehend it, and I'm questioning why I bother going on at all. This is the biggest existential crisis I've ever had, Nick. Chuckie Finster is dead.
Well, if it makes you feel better, when Mako died, they aired this episode, which was apparently like the last performance he ever gave, and it's this really heart-wrenching look into Uncle from Avatar's backstory. And I swear, every single time I watch this short, it's like 4 minutes long, if that. Every single time it comes on, I was like, just start crying, and then at the very end it says, dedicated to memory Mako. I'm like, ah!
There's very
I
few,
was 16 when I first saw that.
there's very few things as sad to me as when someone dies and one of like the last things they do has to deal with life and death. It's very,
Yeah,
I don't know,
really.
there's something dark about that. Although, ironically, I didn't give a fuck about the fact that an AOL article was like, David Bowie's last follow was God, the God Twitter account. I was like, who gives a fuck? It's not like it was actually God's Twitter account.
It was also very strange that happened.
Yeah, we kind of started this off to a little bit of a morbid thought, I suppose.
Yeah, we did.
Sorry about that. On the plus side, they said they might bring back Danny Phantom too. So if that's your shit, and you might get some more episodes of that.
They're also bringing back Samurai Jack, which was actually how I got in the thought of Mako, because it's like, yeah, they're bringing Samurai Jack back, and the guy who voiced Aku is dead, and I can't really imagine anyone else doing Aku like Mako did. So anyway,
all of our heroes are dying, Nick.
Or retiring. Anyway, we have manga to talk about this week. It is a good time to actually mention what series we're going to cover next, because I didn't have it picked out when we closed off last time. But I did get the suggestion picked out and told Chris about this already ahead of time. We're going to be reading a manga called Ajin, or Ajin. Ajin? I think it's Ajin.
Ajin.
Yeah, it's about. It sounds actually a little bit like Tokyo Ghoul in a way, because it's about this guy who basically dies, but then discovers no, he is actually an immortal on Ajin, and there's this stigma against Ajins in his world, and so he's got to avoid being detected and so on and so forth. So, yeah, supernatural kind of horror mystery seinen series, which we'll be looking at potentially next time, probably next time. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe
Chris has to travel, so
we're gonna see how much stuff. I'm still in the midst of a giant Oscar special movie marathon.
Right, gotta watch
trying to work through.
So maybe next week, but definitely within the next 2 weeks at least.
Oh yes, and our lesbian consultant Brawler recommended it a lot. There you go. It's been a week, Nick.
Okay, good enough. All right, now let's do the recap portion of Weekly Manga Recap. Sans One Piece. Sad.
Sanji in One Piece this week? I didn't know there was a One Piece chapter, Nick. Thank you. It was pretty rough going with that One Piece, I'll be honest. This was a week that desperately could have used some One Piece.
It really could have. This is not a very good week for the manga we normally cover. I actively disliked several series, and even the stuff that I did like, I was like, oh, this is pretty nice. As opposed to or anything like that.
There's very little. Picking
there was one rather pleasant surprise, which we'll get to later on, though. But let's start things off with Black Clover, why don't we? Page 50, The Light of Judgment. It's been like a full year of Black Clover now. I think they were actually past the 1 year anniversary by this point.
I feel like I did see Annalisa tweet something about Black Clover having a 1 year anniversary.
Because I think we're actually a couple of weeks past it by this point. If we're on chapter 50, because 52 weeks in a year, but there's always, I think, at least 4 weeks off that Jump gets a year.
Something along those lines.
But yeah, Light of Judgment featuring a color page opening with Yami looking all badass in front of this fucking bull's skull. Hell yeah, I like that picture. There is an actual background.
That's all you've been waiting for.
It is what I've been waiting for, yes. But it's a cool picture too, just in general. I like all the detail on the skull. Anywho, so last time, Yami and Asta were fucking kicking Leashed and his followers' ass. And Asta jumped through a portal and punched the spatial magic user in the face, and then Yami dealt a critical blow to Leashed by using essentially a little black hole of darkness to absorb his attack, and then cutting it with his sword. So yeah, Leashed isn't doing so hot.
Yeah, it's been a rough month for Leashed. The perennial, or the early favorite for Weekly Manga Recaps villain of 2016 as definitely. I feel like this is like the NFL team who starts off to like a 3-0 start, and you're like, they're the real deal, like the Falcons last year. Everyone was like, oh, they're like 5-0, they're gonna go undefeated maybe, and then it was like, oh, never mind, Matt Ryan's quarterback.
No. Oh god, yeah. Leash made a great first impression. Good second impression. Fucking terrible third, fourth, fifth, sixth impressions. So yeah, he is bleeding heavily from this wound this slash wound in his torso, and he basically goes on about how dark magic is the natural opposite of light magic, and so it's a perfect counter for his abilities. He says that dark magic is extremely slow, which is in a way opposite of light magic because light magic is absolute speed, which is why you use darkness to cloak your weapon and use a combat style with reinforcement magic to compensate. And Yami takes out a cigarette and lights it and then points and it just says, correct. It's like, that's a lot of trouble to go to in order to say, yeah, you're right.
That's what he does.
And even Aster's just like, why is he trying to make it?
Why does it sound like he's bragging? Like, correct. Like, well, yeah, all you did was answer his hypothesis. You shouldn't get points for that.
He wasn't even complimenting him. He was just, saying, like, this is the way that you fight. And he's like, damn right. I do use reinforcement magic to compensate for my low speed. So Yami challenges Leech to use recovery magic, since he's heavily wounded. But then he warns him, but, while you're busy doing that, I'm just going to get in close and cut you up. And that's why Leash isn't healing himself, is because he doesn't really have time to do so at this point. And Leash says, I admit it, you are the second person to have power that could defeat me. And also mentions, the Wizard King basically being the first. And he says that the Wizard King is his one ultimate enemy, the one who inflicted this unhealable wound on me. That unique individual, the Wizard King, Julius Novachrono! Is this the first time we've actually heard the Wizard King's name?
I believe we did hear it's Nova Chronos before, because I feel like I've heard that term, and I was like, it's a little on the nose for a guy.
It's rather weird, yes.
But then again, then again, the dude with light magic's name is Light in fucking German, so and
the guy with
darkness, yeah. So I suppose it all makes sense. Maybe that's how magic works in the world. You get named something, and then your magic is then based off of that. Like Chris,
my magic is shit syrup.
Like my magic probably be something like crystal related, because like crystal kind of work that way. Yours,
mine is tiny little cuts. Nicks.
Yes, you just nick people a while and like, ow,
behold
ow!
My super cutting magic.
You don't actually have magic. You just take your book and run it across people's skin to give them paper cuts. Like, ow, shit, ow, that really, fuck you. That hurt.
I've got like safety scissors that you give to kids, and I use them to attack people.
Like, this is so morbid in a way, but at the same time, how did you pass magic school?
Oh, good. So Leash just says, prepare for my ultimate attack, my greatest magic. You cannot avoid this. It's got such a wide range and high output that pulling it in with that spell used will do no good. You will meet your end the moment I release this Black Bull's captain. And it's just like, you're not gonna beat Yami. Yeah. And now he's like, no, actually, we're kind of fucked. That's pretty great.
He's like, oh, he got us.
He smiles, just says, no, that looks pretty awesome. I don't like the look of this. And that's like, what? Oh. Yeah. So Yami observes that despite the fact that, he's got his tricks and he's really strong, Leash does have a 4-leaf Clover tome, so he does have really powerful magic. So basically, he's not going to be able to actually hit the guy because the guy is so fast. So would have to actually take him by surprise in order to stop him. And so he thinks, what am I going to do about this? I'll leave it up to the me 5 seconds from now. Future Yami can worry about this shit.
That's exactly how I feel like every night when I go to bed. I'm like, I should go to bed. Why? I'm not tired right now. That's morning Christopher's problem. He's like, I'm just going to leave this for morning Yami to take care of. That's his hangover to deal with.
You wake up. God fucking damn it.
Oh my.
Past Yami.
God damn it, evening Christopher. I told you, 11 p.m., be in bed.
Fucking hell. So, we then cut away, all of a sudden, to the town where a faceless healer is tending to Sister Teresa, and so there's something that weird that kind of occurs because there's a whole bunch of healers gathered around them. Most of them are gathered around Teresa, but Gauch is also hunched over her, saying, "Oh, come on, old hag, you can't die," and so on. And but the healer behind him says his wounds have all expertly avoided any vital spots. What happened here? So
I guess he was just
I thought this was quite unusual, and it made me think, like, something in the back of my head happened, like, is Gauch going to betray them? Which I don't think is going to happen.
No, I think it was meant to imply that he was very perceptive, and that even though he took a blow, he managed to avoid any lethal damage. Like,
I guess.
It basically just praising him as being a very smart, capable guy.
I mean, I would have to, assume that's the case, because this would just, struck me as an unusual moment. It's like, why are they calling attention to that? And so did Leash avoid hurting him a lot on purpose? But yeah, I think that it is more likely what you say, that, he is just in better shape than initially appeared because he was able to avoid most of the damage.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Teresa reaches up to Gauch with a bloody hand and tells him to take her magic power so that he can go and help save Asta and the rest.
That is... I mean, it makes sense, because Asta's the only one she really cares about in that duo. I mean, I guess it would technically just be Asta and Yami.
Yeah.
I don't think she even knows or would believe anyone else is there. But even then, it's still like, I guess she only cares about Asta. But it is like a telling phrase of like, gonna save them all. Asta! And some other people. They sort of save Asta.
Movie star and the rest. So she assures him that.
How did the professor not get a cursory
I don't
mention?
know.
He's inventing shit every week. The movie star did nothing. I don't understand it. It was like Gilligan main character, Skipper, the fucking professor. Then like Mr. Howell eventually, but if the professor was definitely like the third biggest character.
Fucking the millionaire's wife got credit over the professor.
To be fair, she does get credited as the millionaire's wife, which is pretty degrading in a way of its own. But it's still fucked up that the professor does not get mentioned.
It goes. What is it? Gilligan and Skipper 2, the
millionaire and his wife, the movie star,
and the rest.
Yeah, they eventually changed it to the Professor and Marianne, but the original just goes.
Much more satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, I'd still be pissed if I'm the professor and I'm like, wait, I'm
guild 6 of 7? Fuck this bullshit.
I'm behind the millionaire's wife? They're like, yeah, we're not gonna go the millionaire, the professor, the movie star, and the millionaire's wife. Like, and then we run into other problems that all the women are at the end. Look, just fucking deal with it, alright? Go make your fucking coconut radio and shut up.
Okay, great. There's this kind of adorable moment where all the little orphan kids are like, you should take my magic too and save Asta and stuff, and like nothing actually happens with them. But then oh gosh, I've forgotten this guy's name.
Nige, wasn't it?
Yeah, little effeminate brother who is apparently okay now, fortunately. Like he looks perfectly healthy, honestly, so presumably his wounds were easily healed after he got fucked up by Leashed. He does give Gauch his magic, and he says, I'm sorry about, what I did to your sister, but, please do this, because even if I went to help, then I would just be useless. So, go help Asta.
Is this something that's been, like, a thing in this world, that you can just give your magic to people?
Magic. Not that I can recall.
We don't have Annalisa in the chat this week, so I can't rely on her to give me that answer. I feel like it has to have been at least like done in some fashion before this.
I think the only thing that we've really seen has been like healing magic. Well, and the thing is, Asta has no magic, so no one shared magic with him. But no, I think this is probably the first case of this.
It is weird because it goes into his eyes, so I don't know if it's supposed to be his eyes specifically what takes it, or if this is meant to imply that within the world of Black Clover, you can just give your magic to other people at certain points.
I don't know. It might be a little bit like, Naruto the Last, where they're just like, people can just share chakra with each other. Wait a minute. Wait, what? This has been a thing the whole time? I thought that Naruto could only give chakra to people because of his Kyuubi thing. Wait, so now people can just give chakra to each other? What the fuck? Wait!
Shut up, the moon's being evil!
Or whatever the fuck this movie was about.
Yeah, something.
Aside from Hinata and Naruto ending up together.
All your fanfics are true,
all that
are
really
they?
matters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyhow, and Mary is the last one to really talk to Gauche, because she says, come on, you see, big brother, this is how everyone supports each other, and that's how we live. And so Gauche says, okay, I know what I have to do. Finral, take me back to the cave. And I was like, oh.
Go fuck yourself.
He's probably privately thinking to himself, I've got seniority over you, though. But Gauche says, I think I've thought of something, and I think that we've got a chance. And Finral says, well, we're only going to have really one shot at this, because I, used up a lot of mana transporting all these kids over here. And Gauche bows deeply to him and says, please do this. So, big step forward for Gauche, basically. And so we cut back to Yami and Asta, where Leash has finished forming the spirit bomb, and he, is all set to unleash it at them. Yami has this dome of dark magic surrounding them as a shield, and he says, like, okay, I'm defending us, but at this rate, he's gonna kill us anyway. So Asta's like, then I'll just hit it back to him. And he's like, well, the sword's probably gonna be all that's left if you try that. So
I like the visual of that too. Like, I'll knock it back, and it's just like shrink, and you just see a sword fall to the ground afterwards. Like, ding ding, like, oops.
Well, thanks for saving my life, Asta. I'll remember you always, little kid. Whatever. You were only in my squad for like a week, so.
Although, if the sword cancels magic, wouldn't you just need to touch it to destroy it?
I think that it can only, stop what it actually touches. So he would stop, So basically, it wouldn't so much just be the sword that was left. It would be the sword and whatever was exactly behind the sword. So a little bit of
okay, so it's not like he's actually going to fire a ball.
So like this much of Asta's head is left, but the sides are cut off and the set of his ears.
Okay, so it's not. I was thinking he was going to fire like an energy ball for some reason. I was like, why can't you just knock it away?
Well, we do see the wave of energy that gets unleashed, and it's larger than the dome that Yami has completely surrounding them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, I do like this moment before I get to that. Ass is like, well, what are we gonna do? And then he just goes, not give up until the end?
I like the question mark, too. Like, not give up until the end? Maybe. We'll see what happens.
I am really liking Yami at this point, where he's just like... It's like, stereotypical shonen advice, but played as a joke half the time, and incredibly awesome the other half of the time. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so Leech says, good luck, burning in hell, basically. When Finral and Gauche show back up, and they're like, oh shit, giant ray of light! And Gauche steps in front of them and unleashes his mirror magic. Full reflection! Just this giant mirror appears in front of the blast. And it goes back to Leash. And Gauche says, no matter how big or tough it is, mirrors reflect light. He's right.
I thought they banned Mirror Force.
They brought it back.
Oh.
They banned it and brought it back a few times.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
such a powerful card. Too stable.
Traps aren't as powerful as they used to be. There's a lot of magic and trap destruction and negation and stuff. But anyway, I like this chapter for Gauche, but I don't like it for what it does to Leash. Because seriously, how many more times is this guy just gonna get owned in this sequence?
I would like it. I like exactly as you said. I like what it does for Gauche. I think it's a cool moment for him. It's something I definitely think we could have waited to get, though. I feel like we got the cool moment for Gauche was him helping Asta and being supportive. And I was like, oh, that's honestly, if you were to compare the two, that's a far more important scene to me than this is, because that was not just about him coming back and coming to the aid of his friends. It was also about being a support to someone else.
And also showing humility in order
Yeah,
to...
like recognizing that he needed other people. So I think that scene's really important. I like this scene a lot. I think this is super cool, but it's coming on the heels of 3 straight chapters of this guy Leash kind of getting, as you said, clowned by everyone else. Like Yami's come in and kind of kicked him around a little bit, and then Asta last chapter kind of proved he could get around it and took out the line face guy. And it's a little bit disheartening because I like villains when they're done really well. And I thought the first, introduction chapter for Leash was just so phenomenally paced and really kind of created this cool sense of dread. Like, wow, this is a big fucking badass guy. And I didn't need everything he did to hold. Like, it definitely seems like he didn't kill anybody. It looks, Niche is obviously fine. It looks like Mother Teresa's going to be fine too. I didn't need them to die for him to be effective. If they both survived the same way, I'd still been just as happy with it. But it's just the notion that he makes a statement in this like, well, you're the only other person who can kill me besides the Wizard King.
And then Gauch shows up and is just like, oh shit, no, the other type of magic that can stop me perfectly.
And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this is ridiculous. When you first showed up, I would have 100% been like, yeah, this dude actually probably could beat the Wizard King. Now I'm like, I don't know if you could. I really, if it's on the table, you're definitely the Denver Broncos going into the Super Bowl against him. And maybe to Nova Chronos will pull up some Cam Newton stuff. He'll get too cocky. The game will get away from him and just pout the rest of the fight. But I feel like you're going to get your shit kicked in when you fight him.
Gauch like, shows up to the press conference. I don't want to talk to you.
Throw hoods on. He's like, thought we win. I don't know what you want me to say. Oh, god damn it. They have Gauch back there doing an interview about how awesome his magic spell is. I'm out of here. They'll stomp off. And everyone's going to be like, I wish that kid from the commercial would be Cam Newton, just like you said.
Have you seen that thing that, like, apparently the Yankees are actively telling their players, be more like Russell Wilson after he lost the Super Bowl, and less like Cam Newton after he lost the Super Bowl?
Yeah, there's a lot of... I mean, look, not for nothing. I mean,
the fucking Yankees are telling their players that. Oh, God. Anyhow. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm getting less confident that Gauch can actually do something to actually make him look intimidating after all of this. There is, a method of building up villains that is... it's not necessarily whether or not they win, it's how they come across when they win or lose. And if Leash ends up winning this, he's still not going to look pretty good, I don't think, unless he pulls something weird out of his ass. So
it also doesn't help that there's not much to look forward to anymore for him. Like, not only have we seen him fight in extensive, versions, we've also seen what seems to be most of his powerful spells. I mean, I know it's Black Clover, they make up spells all the time, but it's still that notion of like, I don't really have much to look forward to on this character. We've seen his logic on things, we've seen him fight, we've seen him go up against the person who'd be most interesting for him to fight against. There's not really much to kind of hold on to, I guess, for the moment.
Well, I guess we'll see.
We shall. This was not an objectively bad chapter, but... ... The next next chapter.
It's okay, Chris. We don't have to worry about Leash because he's never going to be an important character.
Yeah. Phew. Yeah. That's just like Rebecca. She ain't coming around either.
So, Bleach, 663, God of Thunder 4. I like the way that the text is done, like the way that the sound effects and the lightning shade the letters differently and stuff.
They inverse it, essentially.
Yeah. That's the last good thing I'm going to say about this.
Yeah, I know. I can give you another compliment, Nick. I like how it's not printed on a woman's butt this time.
So, Asuka Nakavar is now facing down superpower upper butt Yoruichi, who now has lightning, long gloves and stockings, and thong, and bra, and cat ears. And Urahara introduces her current form as Shunko Raiju Senkei Shunryu Kokubyo Senki, which means Thunderous Black Cat Battle Princess. So Asuka Naklavar is like, wait, why are you saying that? And Urahara just kind of gets this goofy smile on his face, and Asuka Naklavar is like, oh, she can't talk right now, can she?
I fucking love Asuka Naklavar. I've really come around to this guy because he seems to just be like us in this moment where he's just like, "What she
Why
can't."
are you saying that?
Yeah, why? Like he does stupid shit too, but I just like him. Like, why are you telling me this? Can she not hear me? What is this? What's happening? This is so weird.
I mean, okay, second comment. I actually do like this one page, this full page right here, where Urahara says the name of the technique, and Asuka is just like, why are you telling me that? She can't understand me, can she? And Urahara just kind of has this goofy grin on his face the whole time instead of saying anything.
His tricks, man. Remember, he's one of the assets.
Well, I like the this unspoken thing where Urahara knows what's going on. He knows how fucked Asuka Naklavar is, but he's not telling him right away, basically. So yeah, Yoruichi leaps forward and starts slashing at Asuka Naklavar, and he gets his shoulder clawed at, and lightning is everywhere, and so on and so forth. And he's basically sent running, trying to get away. He's like, what the fuck is this? I should be immune to her spirit pressure at this point. And Urahara is, like, for some reason, following him around, keeping pace with him, instead of also attacking him. And he says, well, see, she's moody. You know how they say cats are fickle? When Yoruichi's in this form, it shows in her spiritual pressure. See? Look, she's not chasing you now, because she's not in the mood. See, she's already super moody, but when she's in that form, she's even worse. And see, her spiritual pressure, it's affected that way. See? Yeah.
Such an awful power explanation. Like, well, she's moody. That's why she's so strong.
Women. She's super powerful right now because she's on her period.
It's like one step away from that the Princess Peach game where she fought crime and saved the day with her emotions, with her uncontrollable emotions. You're just like, oh, did nobody in Q&A... Was there no woman that took a look at this game at any point and was like, I have an objection to raise?
From the same people who brought you Cookie Mama. Okay. So, the way that Urahara explains it is, see, you know how your body acclimates itself to diseases, but then you still get the flu every year? It's because the flu changes every year, It's like that.
Yes.
Except it's not.
Yeah, it was like, it's a comparison that almost makes sense, except it's like, he's not necessarily getting immune to one person's
evolution is a mystery. Oh, fucking evolution. This is how it works, right? The giraffes, they stretch their necks to get to eat the leaves, and then therefore their children are born with longer necks. That's not how it works, Urahara. You're the scientist. You are the head of the Science Bureau. You should know this fucking shit. Anyhow. So he basically says, yeah, your ability to make immunity stuff is really fast, but and he apparently already knows that because asking how far exactly how long it takes him to build immunity to something, which is apparently 1 minute. But Urahara says, but that's not fast enough because Yoruichi's spiritual pressure changes 48 times per second.
It's like, of course. Why wouldn't it? It's like, of course she has the spiritual pressure that changes 48 times per second. Of course she's going against the person who can become immune to a certain type of thing otherwise. Like, it's such a very specific thing to reveal. Like, I have this way of being broken, and there's almost nothing out there you can do to stop me. Ah, shit, but I'm fighting the one person. Of course I can't be killed by anything that can't kill a god. Oh, but I'm fighting the one person with a god-killing sword.
Like, Coco's gonna show up in this series next in order to take Asuka Naklavar on. Ugh.
That would make sense, because at least that's... Because I was thinking about it, it's like, sometimes in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, they would do things like this, where an opponent would go up against a stand user, you're like, if any of the other heroes had gone up against this guy, they'd have just been killed. This is the only person who had a chance against them. But you can rationalize as like, yeah, but we know what this guy's power is going into it. We usually know what the heroes can do. Whereas in this, it's like, this isn't something Yororichi's done before. She got stabbed in the butt and turned into this, and her stats boosted up. It's like a promotion in Fire Emblem. She got stat increases, and then she got a new trait that's like bullshit. Like, you've now obtained the ability of bullshit, and that's how she's essentially going to win.
So she attacks Sasuke Nagavara and seemingly defeats him, which of course she hasn't because it's Bleach. You have to have at least one false finish on a villain. This is actually the second, but he hasn't revealed his super form yet.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, even watching it though, I'm like, but it doesn't matter because he hasn't released yet, so he's not going to be dead no matter what.
He hasn't used his Bankai yet. He can't be dead.
Yeah.
Oh no, he uses Bankai. Everything's on the table now.
Who knows what happens?
So, having apparently won, Urahara calls Yoruichi back with a cat tail. The toy
dongle.
the toy that
cat teaser
with the dildo. It's it's that weird plant thing that
it's a teaser. They call him like a cat teaser.
Right. Although he refers to it as Yoruichi nip. So she pounces on him and actually says meow.
Yes, she's a cat now.
And she starts licking his cheek.
Yeah. And laying her head on his lap. And Urahara explains that he's the only one who can control her in this form. He's her master, essentially.
I'm so done with this. I'm so fucking sick of this. Like, this whole fight has been stupid since Urahara showed up. I know people like Urahara, and in general I like him too, but these last two chapters have just, like, ruined him for me. I swear. Like, I am beyond anger at this point. This is just offensive to me. Like, he shows up, and she suddenly starts wearing a cat girl fetish outfit, and is essentially his incapable of speech slave. Fuck this.
I feel like Kubo probably isn't intending it this way. I don't get the impression he's that gross of a person.
He put her in a lightning thong.
Yeah, but he's done stupid fan service before. I don't feel it is intended to be as horribly unnerving as it is, but it doesn't change the fact that someone during the process probably should have said, like, let's not do this, because it is really fucked up. Essentially, Yororichi's in a fight, Urahara shows up, injects her with something against her will into her butt, because tee-hee, and she becomes this monster cat girl who only responds to his command and acts like a cat afterwards, licking his face and resting her head in his crotch. And you're like, it's just kind of fucked up. And I think you were the one who mentioned last week that normally in their relationship, Yororichi was kind of the dominant one in things, because she was one of the few people who kind of really didn't take his shit as much.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could play a little bit as the joke is that the roles have been super reversed, but it's just so uncomfortable and fetishy. Maybe unintentionally so.
Keep in mind, Yororichi did not want to enter this form.
Yeah, this was done against her will, and she doesn't have any real seeming consciousness in this. Her ability is defined as being moody, so she's kind of just beholden to whatever her instincts tell her to do. Fickle cat nerves.
So presumably the fact that she doesn't have control of herself is the reason that she didn't want to do this, is because she knew that she was prone to being like this, and Urahara was like, no, I'll do it.
Yeah, you need to. You'll beat him.
Oh, shit.
He didn't release. It is just weird, and it doesn't. He notes he's just like, it's weird because he notes the drawback being that only he can control her, so you have to presume he's not happy with it. But he also says like weird things like, then again, she's so cute, so maybe I don't mind it at all. And you're just like, oh, it's so uncomfortable and unnecessary. Like, just such a bad string of choices.
So at that moment, Yororichi actually starts to, kind of go, And Urahara's like, oh, well, the effects of the immuno enhancer are about to wear off. Okay, well, I'll make sure to drain the poison out of you, but I'm gonna go, find his body to make sure he's dead first. No, drain her of the poison first. Anyhow, big blast of light appears, and then there's this giant, massive ball of poison. And Asking Akabari appears, because of course he does. And Urahara is like, what the? And yeah, Asking Akabari introduces the technique as his Gift Ball Deluxe, the largest poison ball I can create, which is larger than, like, the skyline, basically. You see, like, on the path that they're on, it's just dwarfing all the buildings surrounding it. But then he says, and you're not asking about that. Are you more concerned about the way I look? It's called Hashain, which is God's Taster. And he's like, that's not a very cool name, though, is it, I guess?
I was like, no, it's not a very cool name. I don't know why you're so specific on it, considering your last attack was called Gift Ball Deluxe. Where you're just like, no, my attacks are all super cool. Dragon Wolf, Spiral Flame, Gift Ball Deluxe, Milky Way Teaser Nipple. Like, just wacky bullshit names.
It's a very strange look to him, because the thing is that it's got all of these circles everywhere. I kind of like parts of it, actually. He looks really weird, but I actually like it. It's
very alien in a way.
Yeah.
Like 50s pulp sci-fi kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I like it though.
Yeah, and it's not like the first time I saw this, I thought that he was going to have something that would make him look deliberately pseudo-sexual, like the way that what was it? The guy. Do you remember the guy that Yumichika fought? The one hollow who, ended up thrusting his crotch out of the panel when Yumichika defeated him?
Vaguely.
Yeah, I thought it would be something along those lines, but no, he actually just looks
something
like
very
Nakavara.
yeah, but
he just is Asuka Nakavara, except he took his shirt off and replaced it with this weird. I don't even know how to begin describing it.
It just has like a mantle essentially, and then
basically,
yeah, lightning pants of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Look, I have lightning powers too, but mine actually cover my whole body.
I'm also not wearing a shirt, but no one had to inject me against my will to get me to do it. Ultimately, I don't like this chapter of Bleach. I think it does a lot of things with very, very poor implications to it that really shouldn't have been done. But if there's a saving grace to it all, I think Asuka Nakavara has been pretty amusing this past few weeks, and this chapter in particular, it's just him kind of being almost self-aware, amusing. I like how even he's like, yeah, that name kind of sucks, doesn't it? Like, credits.
Oh, God. So I guess we don't have Fairy Tail yet, do we?
I haven't seen a new chapter pop up, so I think we are gonna have to go without it this week.
We'll just do Food Wars then. Chapter 155, Maximum Power, with Rentaro going up against Kurikiba. We get a little bit of banter between the observers first. Like Soma, is like, oh, hey there, Momo. Sorry that we went down to the VIP seats, and she's just kind of like, and what's her face? The ponytail girl.
I don't say what's her face as though we know her name. She said it last week once. I'm not gonna remember it.
Ponytail girl is like, well, she's just not going to bother with you, but that's the way she is. It'll be like at least a month before she'll even look at you and engage in an actual conversation. And so Soma's like, oh, she's like that with everyone. Then how'd she pass anything that required partner challenges like the Hell Camp and stuff? Legitimate question.
I do wonder that when they because there seem to be a lot of characters in this Shokugeki world who are like, I'm really shitty with other people, but.
And so I was just like, why do I have to explain any of that to you? And so I was like, what? I didn't hear you. The theme for the contest I'm sorry. This super reminds me of Iron Chef. You know, where they had the big reveal. Seven.
Saban!
They also mentioned that I don't remember if they actually mentioned this in the last chapter that this is the final Shokugeki of the day in that hall. I think that they might have, but I can't recall. But yeah, it's salmon, which of course means that it's Kurikiba's specialty of seafood. And
I really want Kurikiba to, because this whole thing's seafood. Like the one time the dude's just like, vanilla ice cream! It's like, god damn it. God damn it. A secret ingredient is chocolate ice cream sundaes! Motherfuck! Marshmallows! God damn it! Hot fudge! Motherfuck! 5 in a row! This is ridiculous! The guy before me had oysters!
He's got to go up against Momo, the dessert expert, too. So what the fuck is this bullshit?
This is horseshit. I thought you guys weren't cheating anymore. We're not. You're just really unlucky. Although that is true, Mecha GM. It's not as though ice cream as the ingredient has stopped chefs from putting fish into it.
Yes, that's true. The observers make a note of the fact that none of the chefs there from Central have shown their true capabilities yet, have shown their specialties. So Kurikiba starts preparing his fish. He cleans it really super awesome and quickly, but then they look over at Rentaro, and he does it really quickly and without flaws as well. So yeah, they're like, you know, Takumi is like, oh man, that means that everyone in Central has, you know, at least masterclass skills like that. So basically, at least building up the fact, yeah, these guys are no joke. Just because they're not on the council doesn't mean they're not super good.
Uh-oh, Nick. This is boding well for old Kurikiba.
No, not currently, no. And we get a flashback, though. And according to this, things didn't quite go down the way that Alice basically said that they would. That they did, rather. So Rentaro actually specifically, you know, gave notice to Alice and Kurikiba. Yeah, we're going to shut down, you know, the Cutting Edge Cooking Society. So if you don't want that to happen, one of you is going to have to, you know, do a Shokugeki. Although, of course, he said it in a way shittier way, which was, you know, I'll let you challenge me to a Shokugeki.
I'll be generous enough to offer you plebeians a chance to face me in Mortal Kombat. She's like, okay, no thanks, bye.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
He's like,
I love that Rentaro gets like 3 sentences into it is, I knew you would. Now the conditions of the chicken. Wait, what?
wait, what?
You know, it's that thing where it's like, you know, you assume an answer, but he goes on for it so long that
yeah.
it's
not like, of course you will. Wait, what? It's like he's into the specifics of it. He's like, I propose perhaps a chicken dish of some sort. Hold on a minute. It's like him driving back home, like, brr, screech! Wait a minute! She didn't accept the challenge at all! Who did they sign this contract with?
He does the whole, like, dramatic exit. Oh, prepare yourselves for the Shokugeki. And let this be, but be forewarned, this will be the last night you can call yourselves the Cutting Edge Cooking Society ever again. Ha 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 ha! Krum. Goes home.
It's him, like,
settles into bed. Ah. Wait a minute!
She didn't accept my challenge! Shit, I'm gonna look like a fool! No. I'm gonna look like a fool. I better put on my face tattoo, giant cross earring, and capri pants. Get back her challenger.
So, then, yeah, Alice was just like, you know, I'll miss being the captain of the... what the fuck is...
She's like, I'll miss the title of being captain because it's so, like, fresh and super cool. But I really don't give a fuck about the club, so whatever. Okay. Whatevs. She literally says whatevs at one point.
Just, yeah. That's okay, whatevs. I'll miss the title of captain a little. It's, like, so fresh and cool. But I never cared about cooking it. Like, seriously. Full Valley Girl. Stop it.
Now that she's done it, I can't see it any other way. If I had started reading One Piece from the beginning with the English translation, I'd be like, of course his name's Zola. What are you talking about? It's just, I've slowly reached a point where I'm like, of course she's a Valley Girl. It makes sense otherwise.
Oh, God. So yeah, she dismisses Rentaro, and he's like, well, if that's the way you're gonna be about it, I don't care either. I'll just sit back and watch the Izami administration takes over the whole damn institute. I don't want to deal with loser scrubs like you anyway. And fucking immediately, Kurikiba's pulling his headband out. He's like, who are you calling a scrub? And that is how they made the Shokugeki.
It is weird because it's not dramatic in the slightest sense of the word. Like it's not like he threatened Alice because he doesn't even take offense on Alice's behalf. He's offended that he got called a scrub and is like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." It's like there was never supposed to be a Shokugeki. You just got angry that this loser called you a scrub.
I do occasionally in a super dramatic, over-the-top series like this, you could have the 15-year-olds be petty little shits over stupid bullshit. So I think this was actually really good. Yeah, Kurikiba goes to this big thing. He's like, I don't care who they are. You pick a fight with me, I'll tear them to shreds. So with my cookie, I'll crush you at your own game. And Alice is just like, okay, like I've had it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So they get to it, and we get into Kurikiba's dish a little bit. He's preparing 2 different kinds of rice. He's getting bread dough ready and all this stuff. And he, is basically, thinking to himself as he's preparing it right now, this one dish is the highest level salmon dish I can make. And he, says, calls over to Rentaro and he says, "Why don't you quit digging around and bring out your best, Mr. Self-Proclaimed Elite, or are you just looking to have an excuse ready for when you lose?" So Rentaro suddenly gets this really sinister look on his face, casted shadow and stuff, and he says, "I was already planning on showing off my true skills in this match anyway." And he's holding his hand in front of his face, which I know is supposed to make him look more sinister, but he's doing this.
Nick, I'm scary, aren't I?
I was already planning on showing off my true skills in this match anyway.
I bet you never expected to face a foe as tough as me, Rentaro.
Do you get the impression that when Shunseki was coming up with character designs and stuff, he was like, okay, how do you like this design from one of the council? And the writer was just like, no. I mean, okay, look, I'll introduce some followers for the council to have, but there is no fucking way I am making this guy one of the top 10 elite students in the school. Fuck this noise.
or just he said that no, we can't do it, and Shin's like, fuck you anyway, I'm doing it.
I'm going to use this design anyway.
It's like Kupo being like, I fucking love the design from Zombie Powder. I don't care how. I'm just going to make it be someone else in that series.
And now he's a Panther guy.
He's like, I guess I just need to make the rest of the Espada weird freaks too to go along with the fact.
Oh, good. So, unexpectedly, some helpers from Central wheel out some big clunky devices, which Soma recognizes from when he faced Alice in the Fall Classic quarterfinals. Yes, Rentaro specializes in cutting-edge food science tools and techniques, as he has brought out a steam convection oven and a cryogenic grinder. Yeah, Alice says, yeah, this is the first I've ever heard about this, that he can use these things. I wonder how good he is at this. And so, yeah, Rentaro says, well, we've got a crowd this size, so it seems as good a time as any to show them all just how much of a genius I really am. So do your best to make me look good, all right, Ryo Kurikiba.
And I like how the last panel is
it has nothing to do with
Soma
him. That's
and
where
Alice.
That's where the chapter should end, with him challengingly holding out the tool towards Kurikiba and bragging about it. And instead it's just Alice and Soma talking to each other.
You don't actually see what they're saying. We could just tell they're talking to each other, and Momo's angry because she's between them and underneath them, so they're just talking over her head.
Getting increasingly pissed off. I do like how they introduced this whole thing with her, which is she doesn't talk to anyone. It takes her a long time to warm up to anyone, so she won't talk to you. And because of that quirk, she can't say anything to the people who annoy her. They immediately turn that against her.
She just sits there and grumbles about it for a while. I like this chapter in a lot of ways. I like that. Here's the thing. I'm still very skeptical. I'm like, I wonder where this is going to go, because if you force me to put a bet right now, I honestly might say that Rentaro wins this. Because there's a lot of interesting little build up here that seems odd if this is just meant to be something that's in and out and done. Like if all these group of four individuals are here for is to just kind of get their asses kicked and be gone, why introduce that Rentaro is really good at food study? Why introduce that they're all really skilled chefs on the same level as, you know, any of the top characters in this class? Like, these just seem like details that would be superfluous, especially the cooking science aspect of Rentaro. I almost wonder if maybe Kurokiba does lose this, and maybe this is who Alice faces on later on in like a, you know, my food science versus your food science or something like that. It seems like there's a lot of interesting story to tell in Kurokiba losing here, but at the same time, like, I don't want Kurokiba to lose here.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to figure it out, you know, because on the one hand, you know, Rentaro is not a member of the Council of Ten. He's just one of their underlings. So if he loses, it's not too big a deal. And on the other hand, if Kurokiba loses, well, they don't really care about the Cutting Edge Cooking Society. So
yeah, the stakes are pretty low. That's why the way this fight gets together, honestly, almost seems to better fit having Kurokiba lose, because there's no real stakes in it. He doesn't have anything to really lose from this. He just didn't like being called a scrub.
Right. So, you know, there's not a whole lot for there to be lost, but there is a lot for both to be gained, because, you know, if Rentaro wins, it means that all the underlings in Central, you know, are really tough not to be messed with. And if Kurokiba wins, then, you know, it's build up for him to make him look strong. So
I think there has to be almost some thought put in the fact that Kurokiba mentioned this is the best salmon dish he's able to make now, though. So I wonder if this is maybe time for him to get a training arc. If he does lose, and it's like, shit, the best salmon dish. Salmon, arguably the most distinct, like, base fish you can have in seafood. If this is the best I can come up with and it's still lost, then shit, I'm in, you know, dire straits.
let's do a little bit of talk about Kimetsu no Yaiba, which is on its second chapter in the Jumpstart. This one more exclusively follows Tanjiro and Nezuko as they are traveling. The mysterious Tomioka from the first chapter is nowhere to be found in this one. And so there's this, you know, bit where he makes a basket for his sister so that he can carry her around in the day, because, you know, she is repelled by sunlight, and now that she is, you know, a demon. And he carries her around in it for a bit until they are attacked by another demon. And there's a fight scene that they have. Really cool fight scene, honestly. I really like it because Nezuko kicks the guy's head off.
Yeah.
But despite the fact that the guy's head has been, you know, cut off, his body is still attacking them. So they eventually end up cutting his arms off and then pinning his head and arms to a tree together in order to get away from him. And then they throw his body off of a cliff, and yeah. And then all of a sudden this old man wearing a mask just shows up, a kind of Tengu mask. But yeah, so that was really it. I am growing to like this series in some respects. It hasn't gotten me completely hooked, but I do like the way that it does certain things.
I can dig it.
But, oh, that said, let's move on to My Hero Academia. Chapter number 79, Drive It Home, Iron Fist. Last time, we found out that Shoji was the one whose hand had been cut off, and he explains fully at the start of this chapter, it was just one of my dupla arms. It was just a spare arm. It's okay. I'm fine.
We haven't gotten the names of the heroes in Class B, right? We know their actual names, but we haven't gotten their hero names yet, right?
Oh, no, we had that one chapter about them. I think that this guy's name is like...
No, I'm sorry. Maybe Class A is what I mean. Basically, the class that's not our main characters.
Class B's, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah,
but Shoji, I thought was...
Shoji's Class A.
Yeah, Shoji is Class A. So why did you bring it up?
Because I'm curious if the character, if Tetsu's superhero name is
Oh,
actually Iron Fist, and if they're allowed to do that, because Iron Fist
huh.
is like a trademark character with Marvel.
Mm, I don't know. Uh, meh. So yeah, Shoji, explains the whole arms thing, and he basically says that that we were attacked by that guy, and I ended up losing an arm. It's okay, it was just one of my duplicates, but he just couldn't take it. The quirk he struggled to contain started to rampage. Uh, and they're like, well, shit, yeah, it's really dark. He's completely non control, and every time basically they make a noticeable noise, Tokoyami's shadow strikes out at them. So they're trying to whisper to each other to make their plan stuff while trying to keep hidden away from him. And Tokoyami all the while is calling out to them, get away from me, don't worry about me, save the others, and so on and so forth. So Shoji breaks things down for Deku by explaining, look, no matter what I'm up against, I'm never going to be the kind of guy who abandons his suffering friends. But I know that you're worried about your friend right now. That's why you came out here. So, look, I can try and lead him away, and while you go after Bakugo, or you can stay here and help me. But you can't do both. Are you going to help me save Tokiyami, or are you going to go, rush after Bakugo? Which is it going to be? You got to make your choice. And Deku says, "I'm sorry, Shoji," and then we cut away
Dun, dun, dun.
to Tetsu, who's just been shot in the fucking head.
Oh!
But he managed to steal his body, literally, and so Gas Mask Kid is like, oh, I guess my gun won't work then. Oh well, I broke your gas mask with that bullet, so it'll just be a matter of time before you end up breathing in the poison gas. So there we go. Yeah. But not content to just sit there and wait for Tetsu to stop breathing, especially since he's going to try and punch him, he keeps on shooting him. And he's like, let's see here. Shooting. It's actually really quite gruesome because he's just shooting Tetsu over and over again.
Like, it was kind of weird when last week he's like, oh, these heroes have quirks, but they're still human, pulls out a gun and he fires, and you're like, I mean, not for nothing, the dude who's running into it is essentially Colossus. Like, a bullet's not gonna hurt him, so it seems kind of weird. And, like, the first thing it does here is, like, shoots his gas mask off, so you're like, oh, okay, like, there is an actual effective notion to this. But then it's like, I'm just gonna shoot you a shit more times. I hope you can't hold your breath long enough.
Right, and the more punishment he takes, the more tired he gets because he can't breathe, the less effective his hardening is, and so the greater the effect of the bullets that he's getting. But the first thing he does after he's floored Tetsu for a little bit is actually to turn around and try and shoot the girl. Fuck.
It's Katsuki. No, wait. That's Bakugo. Kirishima?
No.
Nato. I was
No.
on Tetsu's page. I don't know why it doesn't list them as any of the three fucking people he has a relationship with. I don't know. Kendo, apparently.
Oh, Kendo, yes. He tries to shoot Kendo, who's trying to sneak attack him, and Tetsu has to leap in the way in order to block the bullets. And the gas mask guy says, "Oh, so you tried to do a sneak attack? What a simple technique."
What a fool you are.
See, this gas I created, I can control it, and so every move you make creates ripples and tells me where you are, so there's no hiding from me.
It's like, he has nerves in the gas, Nick.
Right, which was how he knew that they were coming in the first place when they were heading towards him. So, cool stuff. But yeah, at that point, he just basically starts torturing Tetsu. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you guys, it's getting hard for you to breathe. There's, you can't steel yourself for too much longer. Simple, hardening types like you often end up as physical brawlers, guys who rush in without thinking. Aren't you supposed to be heroes someday? It doesn't make much sense to me how a simpleton like you gets praised because of your school's reputation. You're pampered by the world just because of your alma mater." And he's just kicking him around at that point, and Tetsu is really losing focus and energy because he's gone so long without breathing. And Kendo tries to help him out, but again, Gas Mask Guy just detects him. So she grows her hand really big and tries to squash him, which he can't really, see coming. And she tries swatting him around and stuff. And as she does so, her huge hands are batting away, waving away a bunch of the gas surrounding them. And although he's able to avoid it, he gets his gun ready to shoot her. All of a sudden, he looks behind him and he sees that Tetsu's coming, and he's like, "Oh shit, the gas thinned out, so I didn't notice him coming." And Tetsu punches him. It's a really badass fucking panel.
It looks savage as shit too.
The helmet just immediately shatters as he punches his face into the ground. It's really cool looking. And at the same time, Kendo is giving this awesome speech because it's like, you're the fool. You're carrying a gun around. It's just another way of saying you've got no confidence in the fight. Because at least us simple minds at UA have grown beyond the point of ever thinking that there's no hope. And Tetsu takes a gasp of breath as the gas disperses, and he says, "If a gas user's using a gas mask, then smashing is your best bet, dummy." Oh, Tetsu, you idiot. But yeah, they won, so I'm happy with this conclusion that they got.
Yeah, I mean, of all the people in Class B, he seems to be the most interesting one. They're kind of two-person group, so it was a quick but cool little fight between them, and I liked it. And particularly the Poison Guy's power was pretty awesome, of not just being able to create it, but also control it and sense things through it.
Yeah. So we cut to Todoroki and Bakugo still fighting S&M Teeth Guy. And yeah, Bakugo's just like, I've got to blast him with full power because we can't get close. So if the trees catch fire, just cover them with your ice. And Todoroki, basically tries to talk him down. He's like, look, if you use an explosion, it's going to block our field of vision. So if you don't finish him off right away, then we're not going to be able to see his attacks coming. He's got us beat in both range and firepower. But then they hear voices approaching, and Deku and Shoji are on their way, and Shoji carrying Deku on his back still, and all three of them look over and is like, "What the fuck are they doing? Come over here!" And Shoji immediately shouts out, "Hey, can one of you give us some light, please?" As fucking Okoyami's shadow is rampaging after them. And we get a brief little flashback that explains how Deku, basically, his plan was, hey, if you can create duplicate parts of yourselves, you can use them as bait, so we can actually lead him along without getting attacked ourselves. So if we can find Kachan, then his explosions should keep Dark Shadow at bay and create light. And he wraps up this whole thing by saying, so, when you ask who I want to save, I'm going to say both. So, the spirit of a true hero, Deku. And from the looks of things, it might fuck you over. So,
well, it's not that even that Tokoyami shows up too. It essentially looks like he killed Moonbeam too, or Moonfish.
Oh yeah,
you just see his head crushed underneath the claw. I mean, he might. He's probably not dead, even if he is defeated. But it is still like, oh shit, fucking that worked out. We solved two problems at once. But now we have the kind of bigger, or more dangerous problem, I suppose, left.
Yeah, and I like the look between them because Deku is like, you're relieved to see Bakugo. He's like, oh, Kachan! And Bakugo just looks so pissed off. Like, he's not even at the point of, like, surging anger. He's just like, you. So, waiting to see how this pans out then. And the villains are actually falling pretty quickly at this point, so I don't imagine that this arc is going to last too much longer before we...
well, there are still, I think, like 7 of them out there at this point, so...
There was the muscle guy...
There were 10 of them total, and they've beaten the muscle guy, the dude...
Lizard guy.
I don't think the lizard guy's beat. I think she just kicked him. I think he's still going to hang around. I think it's just the lizard... I think it's just the muscle guy... maybe Moonfish here, or Moonbeam, whatever his name is, and then the poison guy.
Mask guy.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Quite like this chapter.
Yes, I thought it was
both parts of it I really liked. So, okay, We've got no One Piece. Brief note on Nisekoi. I guess Sugumi's story is done already. I was kind of surprised by that.
It seems like the manga is trying to wrap itself up, so it's like, we kind of have to get rid of the bit players still left. So they took care of Haru. They've already taken care of Marika. Sugumi is the last real big one to kind of put to rest.
Before Raku just chooses between Onodera and Chitoge. Yeah,
Yeah, I imagine.
But I was surprised because she only got really. If this is the end of this, focus on her, she got just as much time as Haru did. And it's like, I don't know. I kind of always thought that Tsugumi was a little bit more important than her.
Look, none of them were true girls, so that's maybe why. And I guess maybe it also plays into the fact that none of them have lockets. Because if you go by lockets, then it would just Chitoge, Onodera, Marika, and Yui. And
right.
Marika and Yui, I think, did have more substantial kind of end arcs. At least Marika did.
Yeah, well, I don't remember Yui's too well because every time Yui showed up, I was just like, no. But I like this chapter for what it was because basically Sugumi learns that Chitoge does have feelings for Raku, and she really does pull a Haru, which is just like, okay, this person is important to me, I care more about her feelings than I do about my own, so I'm not going to act on my feelings for Raku because, her happiness makes me happy. So, but that, I think, is a more satisfactory conclusion for her than it being the perpetual state for Haru to be in and out of all the time. It seems more in character because Sugumi and Chitoge's friendship and Sugumi's loyalty to her has been built up over the course of nearly 200 chapters. So I liked it for what it was, but it was just like, really, that's it? Okay.
It was still a sweet chapter.
And Raku still doesn't get it. I love that he managed to figure out, I've got feelings for Chitoge. She might have feelings for me, but Sugumi can do I don't have something that I can effectively mime this with, but she almost hugs him from behind while confessing to him.
Yeah, she basically just clasps her hands around his ears and then confesses everything, including I love you, but I'm going to hopefully meet a man like you in the future and be happy, and I I wish you nothing but happiness. And then moves her hands away, and he's like, "What's going on? You sure are acting weird today, Sugumi." And you're like, if she didn't completely just finish things right there, I'd be really annoyed that this was how they were going to go.
And it did. I did think that it was, that bit where she said, "If I meet a guy like you one day, then I'll let myself fall in love." It's like, oh, I feel bad for you now.
It is kind of tough. It is I guess if this is a series that went on for 4 more years, you're like, oh yeah, him and Chitoge dated for a bit, things didn't work out. You're like, now's your chance. But because it's going to be a fairy tale kind of romance, you're like, yeah, it kind of sucks to be you, I guess. Your best friend who you're, very loyal to, fell in love with the guy you love.
Hundreds of chapters of Marika throwing her feelings in Raku's face and not having them return was not as heart-wrenching to me as her being like, if I meet someone like you, I'll let myself fall in love. Oh! Oh, God. That's just because I like Sugumi the best, whatever. I know. Let's move on to Toriko. I actually really liked Toriko this week. I fully admit, I really liked it. This is focused on Dawn Slime, which, in fact, the chapter is titled The Name's Dawn, or rather, Dawn Slime's the name, excuse me. And it delves a lot into Dawn Slime's backstory in between brief shots of him beating the fuck out of Neo. But it starts off when Ichiryu discovered his powers, or discovered his, gourmet cells, and Dawn Slime's talking to him, inside of his head, basically. And essentially the scenes that we get are Dawn Slime enjoying, or rather, Ichiryu enjoying his simple, not too tasty meals, because his full course dish consists of easy to replicate foods and stuff. And Dawn Slime being like, come on! Get some good ingredients! Get some fucking meat in this! What is it? Beans? Come on! Fucking hell!
Fuck you with beans!
Guys, telling him, it's like, come on! I'm Dawn Slime! Well, he doesn't actually know. He's like, oh, I am the Force! I am the demon who lurks in your cells. I am the king who used to rule the entire universe. And Ichiru's like, oh, okay. It's like, why are you eating beans? Oh, whatever.
That's what I do.
And but it shows time progressing as at first Don Slime's just really annoyed with them, and Ichiri is like, oh, let's see here, what should I call you? Because I can't just call you all the time. Maybe I'll call you Slime because you're mushy and you can transform into different things. How about Slime? That sounds really, really bad. Okay, how about I just add Don in front of it? Don Slime. Don Slime. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll take that.
That'll do.
Yeah. All right, I'll call you Donsley for short. Wait, what? And eventually, because we see Ichiryu aging gradually over time, and Don Slime's still just like, hey, you're IGO's president now. You can eat more tasty foods. Nah. Hey, I'm doing something at the bottom of the ocean in Area 6. You should eat the ingredients there. No. Come on!
Fuck!
Because Ichiryu keeps on saying all these, super romantic things like, oh, the children's smiling faces are my feast. Why are you taking them food? Cause
there's no goddamn calories in that, you asshole! You can't eat a children's smile! Well, you could, but you won't, because you don't like good food.
But, over time, Don Slime grew to really like Ichiryu and to respect him. And so it got to the point where Ichiryu was, basically at the point that we knew him at before the time skip. As Ichiryu explained, well, my dream is to see all the people of the world gathered around the same dinner table, with the poor not being delegated to the bottom, with those in power not arrogantly sitting back in their chairs, everyone smiling and sitting at the table as equals. If I had to say, that's my one and only desire and ambition, is because life is so short and can end at any time that I can live my fullest for now, for this one moment. And so Don Slime reacted to this by being like, well, in that kind of world, there's no room for gourmet cells like me because we're, desire and ambition. That's all we live for, is for our appetites. And it even got to the point where he started to like the stupid little beans that Ichiryu ate. Like, oh. And basically, Don Slime has been explaining this to Neo as they fight. And eventually Neo responds to him by saying, you're weak. And he grows out Acacia's face, which makes him look significantly creepier.
Isn't that blow?
Yeah. I like this look on Neo better with, Acacia's hair spread out, the nasty looking teeth, and the kind of pusses actually look like they're interrupting an actual face as opposed to just, a round ball with a nose sticking out.
Looking like it's a frog skin on a weird little shitty doll.
Right. So Acacia basically speaks directly instead of Neo by saying, you're weak. Creatures who feel emotions other than appetite are more frail than anything else.
I'm sorry, I just made myself laugh when I thought of an apt comparison to what Neo looked like. It's like you took a frog's, a toad's skin and you stretched it over a Triple H voodoo doll. Because it's just so much nose.
Oh, God.
The visual in my head is just enchanting. What do you think Triple H would sound like, Nick, if he was here right now?
I think the creatures with appetites are... Watch the bonus episode for this month.
It'll be coming out later tonight.
You can hear the story of how Nick discovered the best/worst Triple H impression ever. Oh, good. And we get more flashback to Don Slime and Ichiryu from when Ichiryu was fighting against Midora, and essentially he was refusing to actually use Don Slime's power. Even when it looked like he was ready, going to die, because Don Slime was begging, was like, use your gourmet cells. You're gonna die at this rate. Use my power. And Ichiryu just said, no, this is how I live my life. So you keep out of this. And so Don Slime, challenges Acacia, saying he's weak. He's like, no, he never once relied on the power of his gourmet cells, even to the bitter end. He was a man just stuck to his beliefs and fought. And you would dare call him weak? I'm going to destroy you. he, although as he has this outburst, occasionally says that emotion is weakness, and Don Slime says, "I am Don Slime. That's the name that Ichiryu gave me. The name I'm going to carve into your memory." And he pulls out a giant fork and knife and prepares to take down Neo. So, really like this chapter, honestly, because mostly just it's like just seeing the actual relationship between Don Slime and Ichiryu and getting some insight into what Don Slime's actually trying to accomplish and why he's doing stuff. It's like, wow, that's a lot of stuff I could have used about 10, 15 chapters ago. You know?
This is, I think, why Toriko can be so frustrating in recent years. It's not because Shimabukuru's like a hack or anything like that. The guy can write. Like, this is a compelling story, and it touches upon some real things. It's essentially like a story of somehow an immortal being contemplating life and death and the value of a life, and it's just done in a very interesting way of Ichiro being extremely humble and kind of talking to him about always sticking to his morals, and Don Slime kind of being like, "Why are you like this? You're a second in my lifetime. Why don't you do more?" Things like that, and just them actually being friends too and having a conversation. It's not just like something where they both talk to each other. You see enough that you're like, "Oh, I can actually see why," despite the fact that Ichiro never used his gourmet cells to fight or anything like that, these two were still friends. These two still had a relationship. I just feel it's an interesting narrative to kind of put out there, especially at this point in Toriko where things have kind of just been like fighting, or, the world building, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a really compelling moment to kind of stop, pause, and it's given me the first moment I've had in a while where I'm like, I'm invested in what's happening in Toriko. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I want to find out now what happens with Don Slime. Neo now has a personality to me. Before, it was just, I guess you would see him as just a being of nature, which is kind of what he was, but still not something I really cared about seeing beaten. But now it's like, oh, he's a fuckhead. He's shitting on this relationship I just saw and appreciated, so I don't like him anymore. Now he's a face that I want to punch, even with its stupid boils. So I thought it was a really effective chapter.
I just want to point out currently at our standings in the poll for favorite chapter of the week: Toriko 0%, Bleach 8%.
I don't think I wonder. I feel like Toriko has never received more than maybe 1 or 2 votes anytime we've done it. So
Well, because we've been doing it well, it's been terrible. But I just want to point that out. It's like, even if you don't even read Toriko anymore and you don't like it, why'd you vote for Bleach?
I just want to note Toriko has no votes. Fairy Tail, which we didn't even talk about, has a vote.
Oh god. Okay. Alright, let's move on to World Trigger. Cap things off with Chapter 132, Galapala Part 11. Last time, Reigi, one of the members of Galapala, was like, I've got a plan, I'm going to take action, because I'm not going to let, these meet-in pushes around. And his plan is to take a bunch of the dogs and split off from the main group. And so Yomi, the operator, is just like, Reigi, what are you doing? That's the residential area. Yeah, that's where I'm going. But the captain told us not to attack the city. I know! I'm only going to make it look like we're targeting the city.
He's not an idiot. Like, he's not. He does the dumbest thing possible, but they don't know about Jin. Like, they don't know that he can just see the future. So in his mind, he's like, I'm going to convince them to go after me. And what essentially like the next 5 pages boil down to is everyone being like, well, Jin's foresight said the city was going to be fine, that no one would die, so we could just ignore him. And it's him being like, why is no one coming after me?
Oh, he's so pissed off, too. He's like, why is no one coming? Are you saying I'm not even worth paying attention to? I
think it was on Elisa last week. It was like, this guy's a goober. Like, he thinks he's so smart, but he's really not. I think she called it exactly.
So we cut to the captain fighting against everybody who's protecting the away ship, and we do get a couple of pages of just flat out fighting, but nothing really gets accomplished except that Kazama uses a panel on the ground in order to teleport, and so the other guy warns him, the traps in this room are have these kind of warp-like effect on them. So watch out for that. They can change their position very quickly. And Konami, it looks like, does that as well. At least I think she does, because
She does at one point, because she does teleport behind him. Okay, yeah, I can see it. It's very faded in the background of the one shot where she's pressed up against the wall. You can see, because the symbol they use to identify it is like their border emblem. So like the page where Kazama does, you can see it underneath his foot. I didn't see it the first two times I read this, but if you see the panel where she is up against the wall, very like faint underneath her arm, her like hand with the kogetsu, you can see the same symbol for her. And then the next shot, she's now behind him.
Right.
I did not realize that. That does clear things up a bit.
So there's a little bit more clashing between them. The guy that Kazama's fighting observes, you can't warp if he's not touching the ground. But eventually we get to the point where there's a standstill in the fight, and they just analyze each other, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to talk about this kind of chapter because it's mostly action. And it is
it's mostly action and then mostly set up for future action.
Yeah, like basically explaining why there hasn't been a decisive victory yet, which is kind of weird. It's something unique to World Trigger in that it's the only battle series where nobody really seems too emotional about battle. Like, everyone just kind of seems to be going through the motions. It's very calculated. It's essentially like they are playing like a chess match or like a high-level card game or something like that, where he's just like, all right, well, I'll play Dr. Boom. He'll drop down his big game hunter. Then I'll come down and play this. Like, they don't seem excited in the fight. They're not like, I'm going to punch you in the face or anything like that. Everybody's just like, all right, well, I'll continue to attack him from the side. We'll slowly wear down his sides. Let's basically see where he goes from here. It's just a very interesting approach to a battle series that I guess I just enjoy so much, but it is very strange.
I do like how the captain has labeled their various opponents. So Konami is axe user, Tachikawa is beard guy.
Yeah, I like how it's like axe user, shield user, not sword user, beard guy.
And then Kazama is youngest guy. Not, assassin or stealth guy, young guy.
Which is weird too, because that'd have been like, he doesn't, I guess it's because he's short that he assumes so, because Ko Murakami is like...
Well, Kazama is the youngest of them, because he's a teenager.
Yeah, I think Ko's only like 18. And I think Konami's also a high school student.
I think that she's I think she's 18 too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they're like around the same. It's just the notion to me that he's just like, this guy must be so much younger than the rest. I'm like, if you put 12 teenagers of varying ages that like up against the wall, I would not be able to line them up oldest to youngest unless some of them are graying already.
Yeah. But yeah, up until the end of the chapter, from that point, they're just like, because the guys in border are like, okay, well, they're on a time limit. We're gonna have to watch where the cannon's going, but I think I know what's gonna happen. He says, "Oh, Konami, I want you to try doing this." They eventually just get to the point where they're like, "Okay, let's do this." It like the last 4-5 pages. There's just a bunch of explaining and a bunch of theorizing and stuff.
Yeah.
So I am not particularly high on this chapter because it's a failed plan followed by 3 pages explaining why the plan failed. A bunch of wordless fighting where there's not a whole lot to make note of because there's no big wound that gets inflicted or anything like that. The only thing that really there is to take away from it is the teleporting panels, and then it's a whole bunch of explaining what everyone's thinking going into the next chapter. I think that, come next chapter or, eventually the conclusion of this fight, if you take it all together, I'm going to appreciate us having had a chapter like this to set things up. But right now I'm just like, okay, whatever.
This is also a chapter that I think will work a lot better when you get to the anime and you can appreciate the action a lot more. Because this is a chapter basically made to have anime on. You're like, holy shit, there's barely anything. Well, this is the chapter that Dragon Ball Z would take 6 episodes to get to, where they're just like, action, 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 and they'll tease something maybe happening next week. And then next week everybody would just be thinking. You can make one episode out of the fighting, then the next episode's just them talking about why that fighting didn't work out. But yeah, I'll be curious to see basically how the next chapter goes and kind of cement the opinion on this chapter as well.
Okay.
Boosh, we did it, Nick.
Yep, we're done. And not particularly.
Nick's going through time.
So not a particularly long week this week, but we were out without two of our regular series and no recommendations, so that's kind of to be expected. I'm sure that one day we will make this up to you guys with like a 2.5-hour episode or something like that.
I'm sure it'll be like 2 weeks from now.
Right.
We had like a 2.5-hour episode last week.
Yeah. So, but, thank you guys for joining us.
I have to pack tonight, people.
Yeah. Give us a break. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the live recording of Weekly Manga Recap, which we do normally Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on hitbox.tv/ReloadT. Although some weeks, like, this week, you have to change it up. So if you want to stay updated on that stuff, he's at ReloadT. I'm at YRuler of Time on Twitter. You can also follow the @WMR Podcast account. And be sure to check out our past episodes. You can find them on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. You can find them on iTunes. You can find them on YouTube. And if you listen to them on iTunes, be sure to leave a comment or rating for us. Gotta beat those woodworkers.
We're never going to do it, Nick.
Oh, well.
I'm starting up a woodworking podcast.
Okay.
It's going to be a woodworking/Golden Girls retrospective podcast. And I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a lot heavier on the second part of that combo.
All right. Welcome to the Woodworking Golden Girls podcast. Sanding. Okay, so...
Anyways, so I built a birdhouse last week. It was a pile of shit and sucked. But this episode, see, Rose needs to help set up a a fundraising conference to build a new lighthouse. Blanche agrees to be one of the people screening calls, but she's just using it to hit on guys. Oh, Blanche, you're such a whore.
Be sure to send us criticism and ask us questions for a future Q&A episode, and also suggest future manga for us to read. And send all that stuff to weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com. Email is the best way for us to keep track of all that stuff. Special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters, because your support allows us to create all sorts of fun bonus content for you guys to enjoy. We recently recorded the February bonus episode of the podcast, which is available only to champion level patron subscribers.
It will be if you're listening to this podcast right now live, it'll be up tonight. If you're listening to us afterwards and you haven't seen it, just head over to the Patreon web page, and if you're a $5 supporter, or champion supporter, you will be able to see it.
Special thanks also go out to Steve Mann, our talc artist. You can check out his work at neurrockfanboy.deviantart.com, iDriveBlues@tumblr.com, patreon.com/SteveMann, lots of different places. And also, of course, to Infamous Planet and Felix Stark for the extra stuff that you guys create for our show, visual editions, this framework on the live feed of the podcast. Thank you guys so much.
Yes. But, I think we didn't actually do our weekly MVPs and stuff, though.
No, we didn't. You're right. I completely skipped over that. So let's get to that. Winning the weekly poll from our audience was My Hero Academia in a walk. The next highest one was World Trigger, and it was like nearly twice as much as that one. Not having One Piece, and also just generally having a fairly unimpressive week in general, really kind of tipped the scales on this one. And My Hero Academia is my favorite chapter this week. I really liked both parts of it. I liked the setup for the Tokoyami situation. I liked the conclusion to the fight between Tetsu and fucking gas mask kid. And I like the resolve that Deku showed, saying, "No, I'm going to save them both," and then coming up with a plan to do so that was really effective. So, really, really good chapter from start to finish.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. It's a really good chapter. My chapter this week, though, is Toriko, which is the first time I've been able to say that. I thought this week's Toriko was really good. It was investing. It got me excited about the story again. And I just thought it was a really well-written chapter. Even if this chapter is the only good one in an island of, back to kind of confusing nonsense, it's still just well appreciated as like a almost short story in a way. So I really like this chapter, Toriko.
My weekly MVP was Don Slime Toriko. I came close, honestly. I did strongly consider giving it to Toriko in general, but I decided to go with Don Slime MVP because that was very much a one-man show, really, chapter. So.
And my weekly MVP is going to be Asuka Naklavar. That guy, I mean, he's the one shining spot in a terrible, terrible chapter, but there's something just so enchanting about that guy that I've just grown to love so completely.
Oh, this is a couple of firsts. This is the first time Toriko has been named a series of the week from either of us. This first time a Toriko character has been named weekly MVP, and the first time a Bleach character has been named weekly MVP, which is the first time Bleach has gotten any significant praise from anyone, basically.
We had Tekking on the show, didn't we?
Exactly.
Oh, no, he gave it to Bleach, didn't he?
He gave it to Bleach.
Okay.
So, aside from Tekking saying that it was Bleach, this is the first time that it's gotten any praise aside from, like, a couple of people a week voting for it. So, yeah. Weird week, wasn't it?
Yeah, a bit of an interesting one.
But hopefully next week there's going to be stiffer competition among the series.
So there we go. All right. I'm going to get hit the old dusty trail. Watch out for fucking tornado warnings down in goddamn Florida. I'm going on vacation, Nick.
It'll be fine.
They're having tornadoes.
So, it's not snowing.
Isn't your entire state just covered in hills like mine?
No.
Don't you have two big, very industrial cities with a bunch of hillbilly land in between them?
I have a question for you, Chris. What's a hill?
It's something that makes running very, very unpleasant.
Oh, so everything.
Yes.